Hey, Ginger, Andy Erwin calling with I Can Only Imagine.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you about this film. I actually grew up with Bart and I knew Arthur. Uh, him and my mom went to a singles group in our church together. They had like a singles adult Sunday school. And
Wow.
so he was always at my house and
Wow.
stuff like that. So this was very hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
it, it's
Wow.
um it's really it is it's difficult. It's you know actually I have several friends that are actors in the faith film business, and it's I watch them get ready for parts and everything else, and so I've been used to like some of those aspects, but then just to see that put on the screen, it makes it really difficult. um but I guess that's the thing that happens anytime you make a film about someone's real life. It's gonna affect the people that were around them at the time. It's gonna be very
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. It's even led to conversations with Bart and just even people that are really close to him. That didn't know what went on behind the scenes because everybody that knew Arthur in the public they saw one version, but at home he just really struggled with his anger and so it's kind of a side of him that a lot of people didn't know that Bart had kind of carried that burden for years, and then it's but also it's kind of the beautiful thing that as God redeemed the relationship, it turned into something really beautiful. To where Bart said that his dad was his best friend when he passed away, and to see God redeem it, that there's never too late to make things right, and so it's a cool story of redemption.
Yeah, and they were always in church together. I mean, Arthur had him there every Sunday and Wednesday, and Bart was the one that would like unhook my mom's like bracelet during church, so it would like fall on the floor. Like he
That's
was
funny.
quite the troublemaker from a young age. So he was a lot of fun to grow up around because he was never serious. He was constantly the clown. But his dad was quite the clown too. His dad, his
Yeah,
uncle, they clowned all the time. So
that's
it's funny how that happened. But well, anyways, I want to know how you became involved with the film. What drew you to make this?
yeah. Uh, you know, we had John, my brother and I, we grew up doing, we for years we were music video directors, and so we directed videos for everybody from Casting Crowns and Amy Grant to Skillet and Red. So we kind of ran the gamut and Switchfoot and all the others. So that was our background, and then we got into feature films. Finally, kind of made the jump about 10 years ago, and so we've made three other films. We did October Baby, Mom's Night Out, and Woodlawn was our last one. And with Woodlawn, we just fell in love with the power of a true story. And so I got to be friends with Bart. He came to a screening of one of my movies, and afterwards he came up, we talked, and he said, I don't know if you know this, but they've been developing My Life Story as a movie for the past 5 years. Would love for you guys to consider directing it. And I said, I don't know if you know this, but they sent us the information on it this morning and wanted to see if we were interested. And so it was just kind of meant to be. And then as we got into it, I just said, Bart, John, my brother and I, we direct together, and I said, John and I want to do that. Doing your movie of your life is not doing a photograph, it's not a documentary, it's a portrait. But we want to know you well enough and know the events of your life for it to be a completely accurate portrait. And we want it to be emotionally what you went through, and to hit all these points just to condense it into 2 hours. And so Bart really opened up and was very vulnerable with what the experiences he went through, and so all those experiences made it onto the screen, and to see it come to life was amazing. With Dennis Quaid playing his father, and the cast that assembled. It's definitely my favorite project that I've ever gotten a chance to be a part of.
How long did it take to make the film, from beginning to fruition?
You know, from that first conversation with Bart until we actually get it to theaters, it's about 3 years.
Yeah, seems about right.
So
That's about average.
yeah, 2 to 3 years. Anytime you do a movie, you have to ask yourself the first thing is why is this worth me exchanging 2 to 3 years of my life?
Yeah.
And if you can't answer that question, move on to the next story. But when you find a story that you just fall in love with, it doesn't matter how much time it takes. And so we just kept pinching ourselves as the more we uncovered the final part that really kind of stepped over the edge. We were trying to figure out, where is the destination we're headed to in this movie, and I was doing a radio show, a morning show in Tampa, and the host asked me off the air. He said, what are you looking at next? And I said, well, off the record, we're looking at Bart Miller's story, which I can only imagine. And he said, oh my gosh, I was in the Ryman that night when Amy Grant pulled him up on stage and gave him the song back. He said, it's the most magic thing I've ever seen in music. And I was like, so I called Bart, like, did this happen? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. And I'm like, how is this not in the script? So at that point, we really knew where we were headed with the movie, and just it really, the story delivers, and it's been exciting to see the test audiences respond to it. When they come into theaters March 16th, we're excited to see what the bigger audience thinks of it as well.
Well, when you were gathering the stories, did you want to tell it kind of exclusively through Bart's eyes, or did you talk to close family members, or how did you come about getting the different facets of what he went through?
Yeah, as far as his career, we talked to a gamut of people, but as far as the family experience, we wanted it to be exclusively through Bart's experience,
right?
Because a lot of even certain family members didn't go through the same thing. That were, for whatever reason, a lot of times Arthur's aggression was channeled towards Bart, especially after Adele left, and so after things broke up with his marriage, for whatever reason, it was taken out on Bart. And so we really wanted it to be exclusively through Bart's experience that this was what he went through. This is his story. It's and so we kind of intentionally even narrowed the focus down where it's not really about the other family members as much as it's about Bart. And so the redemption story between him and his father is really what led to him being inspired to, after his dad passed away, somebody said, I can only imagine what your dad is seeing in heaven right now. And that just stuck with Bart, and that became the message that drove his whole singing career of writing that song. Of he was trying to write a song for his dad. And so it's just a really special personal story. We intended to kind of keep it in that facet.
Well, when you were talking about the cast earlier, personally, my favorite is young Bart because Brody Rose's dad, Jeff, is a friend of mine. So,
oh, yeah.
I have to be faithful to that. But, but when casting Bart's role as, I know you kind of put several stages together as young Bart, and then you went from there to grown Bart. What was key to you in casting him as a young person, and then obviously casting him as a guy that actually was singing and all that?
Yeah, Brody really absolutely great. Jeff, had a part in Woodlawn, my last movie, and and so we've been friends for a while. And then when Brody auditioned for the part, he was one of hundreds of kids that read for it, but he just has these eyes that are big and vulnerable, and just you want to just pinch his cheek and just fight for the kid because he's just such a sweet kid. And he worked really hard. He had to audition for me about 4 times, and I just really felt like there was something really vulnerable and innocent about him that really portrayed on the screen. And so we wanted to kind of see where the dream kind of was broken, to see that when we come full circle at the end, when the dream's given back, it's something really, really special, that you're really fighting for the kid, you're rooting for the kid. And so when we're casting, we want to find, we believe casting essence, not imitation. I don't want to cast somebody imitating Bart. I want to find somebody that has the same kind of DNA. And so when we found John Michael Finley that plays the older Bart, we wanted somebody that could do their own singing. And we also wanted somebody that had Bart's ability to deflect with humor and kind of run from issues by kind of keeping it moving 100 miles an hour and having kind of this frenetic quality. And also, just peering under the hood, Bart's a little bit more jovial on the surface, but you look under the hood, there is that streak that kind of drives him. And so when we found John Michael Finley, he was the main understudy for Jean Valjean and Les Mis on Broadway. And just, he grew up, his dad was a associate pastor in Missouri, and he grew up hearing Mercy Me play at camp. And so he really just channeled, a version of Bart that was just really beautiful. And so between Brody and John Michael, we felt like we kind of captured a beautiful portrait of Bart Miller.
Yeah, the only thing wrong with Brody is Brody was way too still to be Bart at that age. But I
I
mean,
actually worked on that. It was funny because when he kept coming back in for his auditions, I was like, I worked with him on all sorts of things and just kind of getting a little bit more. But I don't think he's going to be as caffeinated as Bart was as a kid. So it's a movie. It's movie Bart. So it's a version.
yeah,
But I think we needed to have him eat Skittles 24 hours a day to be that hyper.
yeah, he's kind of always been like that. He does have a very deep level, and that comes out when he speaks, and he is a great preacher. He like when he
Right.
speaks, he's amazing. But it's it's funny what it's like Joel Bench. I'm sure you've met through this process.
Joel's great.
From the beginning, he's been like the road pastor, the wrangler, the glorified babysitter, and
Yep.
and they've all kind of adopted Bart's personality. They've started all being like that, so it's kind of a constant wrangling. And I'm really sad Joel didn't have a part in the movie, but from what I understand, Brad Pitt wasn't available to play his part.
It was down to either Brad Pitt or George Clooney, and both were too expensive. So
Yeah, so
we'll
I get
we'll have
that.
to postpone that to the sequel.
Yeah, I Joel's the one that told me, he was only going to let that happen if someone like Brad could play his part. So otherwise, he wanted nothing to do with it. But
I love it. I love it.
one of the things you had great actors, and I will say that if you didn't know Bart during that time of when he was just starting out and when he was that age group, he very much John Michael Finley did a good job of like his mannerisms, whether it was intentional or he just has those mannerisms. He did a good job. There were times where just it was facial expressions and different things that I kind of went, man, that's like Bart. It's like it's just enough like Bart to believe it's Bart on screen, but without being a copycat.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, Bart was on set for a good portion of it, and John Michael really worked hard to kind of figure out what makes Bart tick, and so a lot of that he would just pick up as he kind of would study what Bart does and how he interacts with people and that type of stuff, and then and even with the singing, it was one of the coolest parts was we wanted John Michael to do all his own singing, and so he's opera trained because he's a Broadway singer. So we were in studio, we were recording Lord You're Beautiful, the Keith Green song, and so it just wasn't working. And Bart was in studio, and I was like, well, Bart, how'd you sing that song? He said, well, I never actually got a chance to record it. I'm like, well, we should get in the studio to see how you would sing it. So he gets in and starts singing it, and then all of a sudden John Michael starts imitating him, and they start going back and forth as Bart's giving him coaching. And then there was this moment where it was like a fusion moment between the two of them, where like John Michael was singing, and I couldn't tell the difference between his voice and Bart's voice.
Yeah.
And it was pretty darn cool to watch it happen. And so I think that's just and they've remained close friends since then, and it was really cool to see him really kind of channel definitely a version of Bart.
Bart said he was very nervous because he needed John Michael to like dumb it down a little bit, like because he was so incredibly vocally talented and had this range, and Bart stays in a pocket. He has this. You know what I mean?
Bart, after he came out of the studio, that I said, "How was that?" And he said, "I feel like I just test drove a Ferrari. That was awesome."
that doesn't belong to me, but I'm gonna rent it. It's really hard, I know, to tell a story like this where it's based on a life, because I know my mother personally would have stepped in and there would have been a big ruckus, because we all loved him, and we loved Arthur too. I was in an abusive marriage, and during that time, I mean, he served in church, no one ever knew, and no one would have ever been able to tell. He was like a politician in front of other people, and on the way to church and on the way home from church, it was like it was horrible. And but first thing I did, every time Bart would come in town, I live in Michigan. I was like, you got, when's your next concert? And he's like, we're going to be in South Bend. And I'm like, South Bend, Indiana? And I said, my son was like 9 years old. I said, he needs to see you. Like, he needed to be
Wow.
around. He just needs something to pull him out of this before he gets depressed. And we've met him in South Bend, and he just kind of took him under his wing. He let him, visit backstage. And then it ended up becoming that Joel's kind of the hero now. My son is like, he's a bigger fan of Joel's now because he knows Joel's the gatekeeper. But
That's awesome. Well, we
the
all love Joel. I think for any survivor of an abuse situation, it's always really complicated because especially in Arthur's case, is he had a traumatic brain injury from a construction site
he
accident
had a
right when Bart was
horrible
born,
accident. Yeah.
and as a result, he just had a really difficult time regulating his anger. He would just and he was able to kind of put on a good front at church to where he was very gregarious and people loved him. But just for whatever reason, at home he just had these inner demons that would get the best of him. And uh, so for a lot of abuse victims, they live in this world where people don't see what they see and they don't understand what they go through. And I think that Bart's story really opens up a dialogue for people that have said, that's me. I went through that, and people don't know that was part of my story. And then also for dads that feel like they've screwed up too much, I think that so much of the time, especially in today's society, we narrow it down to just, is this person good or bad? If they made,
Yeah,
and
good
if they
guy,
made a
bad
mistake,
guy.
we kind of roast them for it. But I think understanding that you're never too far gone, that there's always hope for redemption, and to see how God redeemed the relationship between Arthur and Bart right there at the end was just, I think, one of the beautiful moments that I've ever been a part of the film, is to be able to tell that portion of the story. And obviously, there's much more to the story. It would take a really long novel to tell the whole thing. We condensed it into 2 hours to just an emotional thread dealing with one portion of a life. But I think hopefully it gives hope to other people that be able to say, "Hey, I've gone through something similar."
I know you've had some early screenings. What's been the reaction?
It's been off the charts. It's been amazing to watch. Just people really connect with it. We did a big test screening in Dallas. That we hire an organization that does kind of just random invitations to a wide range of demographics that see the screen and give an impartial thoughts on the film. And we did an adult screening, and then we decided to do a college and high school screening just to see how it would register. First of all, entertainment value tested off the charts. It was really amazing because Bart's story is really entertaining, and so it got the highest rating that this company has ever done. Second, tied the highest rating ever done in the faith space. But the part that we were really jazzed about was in the high school college screening.
Yeah.
They did a random, after they get done, they do a focus group. And in that focus group, about 25, 30 kids. And the moderator is not a counselor. He's just there to ask questions about the film.
Right.
And we're a fly on the wall in the very back. They don't even know we're there. They don't know we're filmmakers. We're just kind of listening. And one of the kids in the group, as they're talking about the reaction film, he said, "I went through that. My dad's an alcoholic, and he used to do that kind of stuff to us." And then another kid in the group said, "Yeah, my dad was like that too." And all of a sudden, the moderator's panicked. He doesn't even know how to deal with this. So the conversations that were started right afterwards were amazing, and so much so that we put up an 800 number at the end of the film for if you've been an abuse victim and you need to talk to somebody, because we want to provide that resource to somebody that needs some help. So, it was both on an entertainment value. We're excited that I think that it's a story that's going to register, but then also on the good underneath the story. I think it really has a lot to say about redemption.
I think what's so great about films like this one and October Baby, I love because my beautiful friend Rachel is in that.
That's awesome.
And the thing about these films is like I think that you have a vision, and so do the other people like involved in making them, and it takes on that part, but then it just goes into this other universe. Because for me, October Baby, the movie did so many things, but then it started conversations with people that I never had a conversation with,
Yeah.
abortions and things like that. And I think this is gonna this is going to expand and the tough conversations happen, because
Thank you.
I will honestly say the toughest conversation to have about abuse is if you're a Christian and you're in church,
Yes.
because that is a area of church that we never found an outlet for help. We had to go
Right.
to a secular organization to get help, to get counseling.
Yeah.
Our pastor only offered to get us to like a battered women's shelter. Like
Yeah.
that was the best they could do, and
Yeah.
that, and if that's all you can do, then you figure out what else you're supposed to do. That, I mean, like
Yeah. No,
if you don't already
totally
have the
agree.
resource, you then figure one out. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I feel like it's an area of the church that a lot of times it's not. We need. It's something we all need to grow in because I think there is definitely as Christians our desire is to be able to work towards forgiveness. Um, but to understand in a broken, messy world that's a very difficult task.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so care for people that have been through abuse is something that I feel like that is a conversation that needs to grow. Of what does this look like, and what does healing truly look like, and that's why in the movie, we had a lot of pressure that the scene where Bart goes home to confront Arthur, that we had to kind of arrange the order of the timeline based on the order of the film. So but when he has to go home to actually deal with his father, we took a lot of pressure that hey, he should just go home and forgive his dad. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not easy. The first thing that an abuse victim faces after they actually start dealing with their stuff is anger. They have to deal with the anger that, oh wow, I've really been wrong, and I've been coping and haven't realized, and then you have that moment of realization that hey, I've been abused, and the first thing you feel is anger, and so it's a very rough, messy experience at first, going home to deal with his dad, but then in the process, as God begins to soften and redeem, you see these two souls kind of hit a moment of vulnerability, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch it unfold from there, and to be able to highlight the redemption between these two men. So hopefully it presents hope to people that are going through there to start that conversation.
And this will be out March 16th.
Yes.
And how do people find out more information to purchase tickets and where it's showing at?
Yeah, we're excited. Lionsgate is releasing nationwide March 16th. For us, opening weekend is the most critical thing because the more having been involved in a lot of films, the more noise you make opening weekend, the more they allow you to expand and stay longer and to go wider. And so then the fear of missing out kicks in for the general moviegoer, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's check out this film. And so it's the best way to reach an audience outside the church. And we want to provide a film that the church can get excited about and be proud of, but that we want to utilize that noise to branch out beyond the church and reach the lost. And so, so opening weekend is critical, March 16th. Somebody pointed out it's a lot more spiritually attuned than I am, that's 316, and it's
John
an easy way to remember.
Yeah.
And so we're claiming responsibility. We're claiming responsibility for that. So I can only imagine movie.com, and they can get there's a tab there for theaters near you, and can give you information on that.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm as a single mom, I'm ready for another single mom's night out. So you can throw that together anytime.
That's great.
That was a fun movie, and
you.
we all need to let our hair down. But when you're a Christian, you can only let your hair down in so many different ways, and a lot of times it's by getting together with other moms going, I'm about to lose my mind, and it was a very funny movie.
The point of that movie was to show that you guys are the real superheroes. So
oh yeah, now you're just plying me, so I'll get people to go see the film. That's okay. I will do that either way. Even though you didn't put Joel in the movie, and that's sad, but his part would have been the whole movie, like running around chasing Bart.
I have not been able to find a man with as good a beard as Joel in the history of the world. So
one of the reasons my son loves him. Yeah, he has the ability to grow the beard, and very very well. And yeah, I'm just excited to talk to you. You've already done things that I love, and I love that you're friends with Jeff Rose, because we met through a mutual friend who does faith films, and she started making a movie. And part of her movie, it's a love story of her and her husband, and the end of the movie is their real wedding. Well, we sat across from each other at the wedding, me and Jeff, and there's only like maybe 70 people in the wedding, like in the that was actually watching the wedding, and so they made us part of the movie by us being in the being in the wedding party, or not the wedding party, but in the, as attendees, and then I ended up doing some writing on the film because they filmed the wedding first, and
Oh wow.
because that's how the timeline went for their shooting, and then when they started writing it, they started asking me if I wanted to do some just feedback, and then the feedback turned into getting to be a contributing writer on it. So
Wow.
I've been in love with films all my life, so this has been a great thing. It's kind of weird to like, merge all these worlds together, but the medium of music and film, books, all these things is such a great thing to take advantage of. And thanks for making great films. My son really loved Woodlawn. I mean, he's 23, so that was perfect for him. And so I'm just thank you for making great films, and make some more. You guys keep going. You do well.
Appreciate all the support and helping us get the word out.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy.